Ashes and Diamonds is a film directed by Andrzej Wajda in 1958. Set in the immediate aftermath of World War II, it tells the story of Polish people from different social classes and political camps who act in pursuit of their own ideals or interests. The protagonists, Andrzej and Maciek, are soldiers of the Polish Resistance Army, tasked by their superiors with assassinating Szucha, the chairman of the Soviet-backed Polish Workers' Party. While the plot revolves around the assassination mission, the film focuses on the shifts in the two men's beliefs, emotions, and convictions, as well as the experiences of ordinary Poles caught up in the turbulence of the time. The winding story ultimately ends in tragedy, reflecting the helplessness and confusion of the Polish people in the face of international upheaval. Before discussing this film, we must first look at Poland's modern history. After being partitioned and occupied by both the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, many Poles who longed for the restoration of their homeland joined the Allied forces and took part in battles in Italy. Following the war, they re-established their own country, Poland. However, soon after its founding, Poland was pulled into the socialist bloc under the dominance of the Soviet Union, losing its national sovereignty. As a result, a portion of the former Polish Home Army reorganized as the Polish Underground Resistance, continuing to fight secretly against Soviet control. In 1953, Stalin passed away. Khrushchev came to power and introduced the policy of de-Stalinization. This wave rapidly spread across the whole socialist bloc. In 1956, the Poznań protests broke out in Poland, and Gomulka was brought to power. He advocated for a Polish-style socialism, repatriated the Soviet political representatives stationed in Poland, and ushered in the so-called Thaw period. During this time, a range of artistic styles once closely tied to the Soviet Union were abandoned, paving the way for the emergence of a new Polish film industry in the post-World War II era. Andrzej Wajda, the father of contemporary Polish cinema, after the Thaw period, thanks to the loosening of restrictions on film topics, the Polish Film School was established. Subjects that had previously been prohibited, such as the Warsaw Uprising and the Polish People's Army, were now brought to the screen. He directed the war trilogy, A Generation, Kanal, and Ashes and Diamonds. All three works feature the Home Army during World War II or the Warsaw Uprising as their protagonists, intertwining individual fates with the fate of the nation and reviving the Polish people's sense of national identity. Among them, Ashes and Diamonds stands out as the final, most remarkable and distinctive installment of the trilogy. The opening scene of the film features two members of the resistance, Andrzej and Maciek. They are assigned to assassinate Szucha, who after Germany's surrender was appointed by the Soviets to serve as the local chairman of the Polish Workers' Party. Maciek lies relaxed on the grass, his expression calm and carefree, in sharp contrast to Andrzej, whose furrowed brow reveals tension and unease. The church is locked, suggesting that God will not open the door for these two men, and foreshadowing the sins they are about to commit. Once a national hero who fought for his country, he is now about to commit a crime and is no longer accepted by his faith. Maciek shows no psychological burden regarding the assassination. He can even draw his gun in front of a child. This action cements his initial image in the audience's mind as that of a cold-blooded killer. In contrast, Andrzej drives the child away, unwilling to take a life in front of the girl. The director quickly creates a sense of conflict and establishes vivid, multi-dimensional portraits of the protagonists. In the next shot, Maciek fires at an innocent man in front of a statue of Jesus. The victim collapses in a crucifix-like posture, kneeling toward Jesus, and in doing so manages to open the locked church door, suggesting that some plea, perhaps for vengeance, has been accepted by Christ. The director then skillfully shifts the camera from the statue of Jesus to the assassination group, implying that Jesus is watching them with a gaze of judgment, adding a distinct theological dimension to the film. Then, a dramatic twist unfolds. The assassination group does not in fact kill Szucha, but instead shoots two fellow Poles. Both victims had only recently been liberated from a fascist concentration camp for some weeks. These men who had barely survived the war and Nazi brutality, but be struck down by the bullets of supposed patriots. This stark contrast creates a powerful irony, highlighting how Maciek and Andrzej, as members of the resistance, blindly followed orders and ended up committing a tragic mistake. To celebrate Germany's surrender, the city organizes a grand banquet. The film weaves a cross-narrative between the glamorous festivities of the upper class and the grim political assassination plot unfolding beneath. When Andrzej and Maciek believe they have completed their mission and report to their superior, Szuka arrives at the hotel. Here, Wajda employs deep-focus cinematography, placing enemies from opposing camps within the same frame. The stark contrast between foreground and background heightens the dramatic tension. After the mission fails, the colonel summons Andrzej, while Maciek checks into the hotel, coincidentally, right next door to Szuka. Opening his window, he sees a young woman across the way sobbing uncontrollably. Her fiancé, who worked at a cement plant, was shot dead earlier that morning. For the first time, Maciek's carefree demeanor shifts to one of inner conflict. Yet instead of repenting, he closes the window, shutting out the external world and refusing to let outside events shake his faith. This moment reveals Maciek's emotional turmoil, an inner struggle between doubt and loyalty, but he ultimately chooses to cling to the organization, carrying out his mission with blind obedience. The recurring shots of soldiers stationed in the city serve as a constant backdrop, providing a direct visual sign of the regime change and symbolizing the perilous position of the assassination squad. Andrzej, burdened with guilt over the innocent lives lost, questions the colonel. Must they really kill Szuka? At the moment of his hesitation, when his conscience wavers between personal morality and loyalty to his cause, he is placed at the very center of the frame, his inner struggle pulling the audience's attention toward him. The flickering car headlights streaming through the window cast alternating light and shadow across the room, mirroring Andrzej's uncertainty and inner turmoil. The colonel, however, dismisses Andrzej's hesitation with scorn. After rebuking him, he shifts to explaining the significance of the mission. At the same time, Andrzej gradually retreats toward the background of the frame, drawing the audience's gaze away from him and onto the colonel. Andrzej slips out of focus, his personal will no longer commanding attention. He becomes insignificant, while the colonel emerges as the one who holds true authority. The colonel then assigns Andrzej his next task, to assume the responsibilities of the fallen squad leader. In the next scene, Andrzej and Maciek, having accepted their orders, meet in a tavern to exchange information. Suddenly, Maciek is drawn to the voice of a singer, who performs in a special way to honor fallen comrades. The song she sings is a Polish tribute to the Battle of Monte Cassino, one of the most renowned battles fought by Polish forces in World War II. As former soldiers of the Polish Home Army, both Maciek and Andrzej are stirred by the melody, their hearts rekindled with a strong sense of patriotic fervor. Yet, when the song ends, the flame reflected in Maciek's shadow quietly goes out. Fire, so often a symbol of hope, faith, and life, here becomes a fragile metaphor. Wajda uses the extinguished flame to signify Maciek's faith in existence, like a candle in the wind, ready to be snuffed out at any moment. This foreshadows the tragic fate awaiting him. Maciek and Andrzej agree to carry out the assassination of Szuka that very night. Before leaving, however, Maciek decides to spend some private time with Krystyna, the tavern worker he recently met. In Maciek's room, the two whisper to each other in quiet intimacy. Soviet cinema traditionally opposed depictions of romantic relationships, but Wajda deliberately sets the love scene apart from the rest of the narrative. Most of the film's sequences are shot with wide-angle deep focus, situating characters within broader environments and allowing their actions to interact with the setting. Here, by contrast, Wajda employs extended close-ups, intentionally confining the frame to a small, enclosed space. This creates a purely emotional sphere, temporarily extracting the characters from the political realities pressing in around them. The confined space symbolizes safety, while open environments signify danger. Through this shift, Wider momentarily liberates the film from the undercurrents of political turmoil. Yet the warmth of this intimate setting simultaneously foreshadows the peril to come, marking a pivotal turning point in the fate of the two lovers. Leaving the confined space, the two return to the perilous outside world. The torrential rain and decaying buildings constantly underscore the dangers of their surroundings. Between them hangs an inverted crucifix, separating the pair. Christ's back is turned toward them, suggesting that they are not embraced by divine grace. The upside-down figure further symbolizes the collapse of faith itself. In this moment, Maciek begins to wonder what his life might have been like had he never joined the resistance. His convictions are placed under severe trial, and doubt begins to seep into his once steadfast belief. The two enter the church, where, under the gaze of Christ, Maciek symbolically tears away the veil covering his sins. The pleas for vengeance from the dead seem to be answered by Jesus himself, and fate prepares to deliver divine judgment upon this former national hero. As the story reaches its climax, the film's central conflict finally erupts. Determined to carry out the mission, Maciek rushes towards Szuka and fires several shots. Yet his fear, hesitation, and guilt drive him to retreat step by step, while the man he shoots continues to advance. In the end, Szuka offers no resistance and dies in Maciek's arms. The stark reversal, an assassin shrinking back while his victim moves forward, renders the killing both absurd and hauntingly surreal. Immediately afterward, dazzling fireworks light up the night sky as Polish celebrate Germany's defeat. Yet in a hidden corner, unknown to the jubilant crowd, a Soviet official has just been slain in a sordid political assassination. Under the glow of the fireworks, Maciek appears stricken with dread. His vile act is suddenly illuminated, exposing him like a rat caught in the open. In panic, he hurls away his weapon and flees into the sewers that symbolize his dwelling place. Szuka, who throughout the film had been portrayed with dignity and moral strength, meets his end not in honor but in a dark, unseen corner, his heroic image extinguished in obscurity. Maciek, who should have left with Andrzej, hesitates. He does not go. Behind him, a train speeds straight ahead, as if carrying away his last chance at survival. History itself is like that train, while Maciek embodies the Polish people at a critical turning point. Unable to see what lies ahead, yet relentlessly driven forward by the unstoppable locomotive of time, forced into an uncertain future. And the price of staying behind is death. While trying to evade the mayor's secretary, Maciek collides with a guard, and the gun on his body is discovered. During the ensuing chase, he is shot. Though he narrowly escapes capture, his life is already in its final countdown. At last, he stumbles into the grave Wajda has so carefully chosen for him. A filthy, desolate garbage dump. There, Maciek writhes on the ground like a hunted animal in its dying moments. In the end, he becomes as insignificant as the trash surrounding him, abandoned in a place no one cares about. How many once passionate young men like Maciek were swept into the garbage heap of history by the relentless tide of their times? And what future remains for the fate of the Polish people?